And welcome back to the Hot Lap. We are talking Perez. Yes, Sergio Perez being absolutely key to Daniel Ricciardo's future. That's an interesting one. Also, we'll be looking at who is the future then of Red Bull. Anyone else? Hello, Liam Lawson. But rumours that he didn't exactly set the world alight on his most recent private test. And last but not least, Ricciardo says he's going to keep pushing. We'll speak to you in a bit. So let's talk Perez being key to Daniel Ricciardo's future. Weird one, isn't it? But I guess here's why then. Because this was all started with an article on planetf1.com. Now, as all the speculation for who's going to be in the Red Bull continues, it's really Sergio Perez self-harming his own career in a way, his disastrous Jonathan Wass run of results that could save Daniel Ricciardo's F1 career. So, Sergio being bad, Daniel Ricciardo being good, Daniel Ricciardo gets saved. But back on the grid with Red Bull's junior team, VCARB, Helmut Marko, he's confirmed that Red Bull hoped Ricciardo could put pressure on Perez and thus take Red Bull's seat for 2025. A lot of people, including myself, and I imagine some of you watching, really thought that was what was going to happen this year. Ricciardo was going to blow away Tsunoda, go to Red Bull, thank you very much. But is that the case? So instead, the Honey Badger, he's had an average, let's say, an averagely unspectacular season in which he's, let's be fair, Yuki Tsunoda has looked like the better prospect. And that's led to Red Bull handing Perez, let's be fair, a very surprising 2-year extension for 2025 and beyond. That, though, is rumoured to be under threat because of Perez's current form. He hasn't scored many points, as you probably know. So that clause is, Hulkenberg has scored more points than him for what arguably is the best or second best car. Now, and that clause is said to be his points difference, which we spoke about the other day, within 100 points of Max Verstappen after the Belgian Grand Prix. And if that's not the case, he could be demoted. Today, as of right now, the 12th of July, he's 137 points. He's just got 2 races to turn it around. He needs 2 wins, surely. However, there is a third player, Liam Lawson, and he tested the RB20 at Silverstone on Thursday. Now, Red Bull haven't released any information, but it could be what determines, as people are saying, who's in the Red Bull alongside Verstappen come the August Dutch Grand Prix after the summer break. Mark Priestley, though, a former mechanic for McLaren, he's got a book out as well, reckons as the saga plays out, it could be Lawson in the RB20, Ricciardo of all people in the VCARB, in the RB, and Perez on the sidelines. He said it was another weekend to absolutely forget for Checo, coming on the back of a couple of weekends to forget, in all honesty, he said on his YouTube channel. Yes, it very much was. And the talk in the paddock this weekend has been increasingly around the likelihood of Sergio Perez being replaced before the season is out. That does seem, it does seem likely. It didn't happen last year, though, if you remember, did it? No. It did not happen last year, but that's because, though, Daniel Ricciardo hurt his wrist, and they were like, oh no, it's fine, we've got a dominant car, we're going to win anyway. He has only just signed a contract extension, Mark said, but undoubtedly there are going to be clauses in the contract that are performance related, such as that rumour of the 100 points, and they're going to give Red Bull the opportunity to switch their drivers around. Now, Christian Horner, he always talks about all of the drivers, both in almost like one big package, both at Red Bull and RB. And Mark went on to say that being on a generic Red Bull contract and the fact that they can be moved around, shuffled in terms of where they're placed. He added, the talk up until now has been Lawson replacing Ricciardo at VCARB. That seems like a fairly likely scenario. And it makes sense given the results, given what the team is there to do, which is to feed the main team. I think we can all safely say Ricciardo is not likely to be the replacement for the Red Bull main team in the future. He's not a young driver coming through. And he said, is Lawson a future Max Verstappen or Vettel? We don't know. We've seen him in a handful of races where he replaced Ricciardo, he says, and we've too. He did a really good job. And last year, but actually Red Bull need to get a better assessment on him. So all the talk will be, will Lawson end up in VCARB in the seat of Ricciardo? Well, nah. But Priestley goes on to say, but the irony now is because of Checo's disastrous run of results, it could actually be Checo who actually saved Ricciardo's F1 career, at least for a bit longer. Because now there's talk about that Lawson could replace Checo, going straight into the main team as quickly as the summer break if Checo can't change his fortunes quickly. And if Lawson proves to be a decent driver in that car and gives a good impression in the test. If you remember last year, Ricciardo had a really good test after Silverstone, and it was decided that it was goodbye Nick de Vries. So it could be that Ricciardo, he says, lives on to fight another day and Checo is the one who falls. I mean, that's really interesting, isn't it? So they also have another article on who is it going to be. Now, the rumours are that Lawson was 2/10 shy of Max's benchmark time. Once again, it is a rumour of his most recent test. And the rumour was they weren't as impressed as maybe they wanted to be. Once again, I bring you back to Ricciardo last year. They were very impressed. But signing a new contract for Sergio Perez hasn't done the deal. If Lawson isn't fast enough, it's this big question mark. It seems that this second seat at Red Bull has been cursed ever since 2019 when Danny Ricciardo started at Renault. And obviously his fresh Q1 exit with that silly mistake that other people made but not as bad. Even Max Verstappen went off for cops. Sergio Perez showed everyone how to do it proper. I mean, what's going to happen? Let's get this... people at planetf1.com have done an interesting article. They put, ever since Ricciardo was brought back in the fold at Red Bull, this is from Thomas Mayer, and it's been with an eye to seeing whether he's good enough. Now, since Tsunoda doesn't appear to be a suitable candidate to replace Sergio Perez because Red Bull have not recast him, but they've re-signed him for the RB team, thinking he's not good enough for the big one. But now we have the Constructors' Championship that's currently under threat because of Sergio Perez. All the other teams, McLaren, Ferrari and Mercedes, have good driver lineups. There's not really a weakness there. So Perez is not thriving under pressure, a lot of people are saying. He's not shown in the past. He's shown in the past that he can be strong and a capable midfield driver, but in that top seat, not really well. If you remember, Fisichella in the Renault in 2005 was not particularly great. Giancarlo won a couple of races in the end, but he was really rated in these midfield teams. It's weird, isn't it? Jarno Trulli potentially another one. So if you can't handle this mid-season domination of by Max Verstappen, what are they going to do? Liam Lawson, as we said, is waiting in the wings, but with his potentially least an impressive test, we've got Isaac Hadjar. It's making a strong case for him in the Formula 2 Championship, but that might be for next year. So it's interesting because even in the article on Planet F1, they put, however, my understanding is that Lawson's daytimes are slightly underwhelmed. Red Bull. His quickest benchmark was 2/10 off the earmarked time. His chances of securing a seat with either Red Bull team may thus come down to how Perez fares in the next two races. Jamie Woodhouse from PlanetF1.com has put, the fresh Perez slump mirrors what we saw last season, yet Red Bull deemed him their strongest option. Yeah, why? Red Bull won 21 of the 22 Grand Prix, meaning Perez struggled to stay in form and he only just really, let's be fair, finished second in the championship in one of the most dominant cars in history. But now Red Bull has lost that buffer over the rest, which they enjoyed. McLaren and Mercedes more than just snapping at their heels as a one-off driver or so. Verstappen has broken plenty of Red Bull teammates. So, do they need Liam? People are saying maybe it should be Liam Lawson. And that's the thing. Do they? Because now also you have to wonder whether there's going to be a Carlos Sainz in the mix, simply because, yes, they haven't signed Carlos Sainz yet. No one's signed him yet. He's in the mix of Mercedes. You could make a really good argument. He is the currently the best driver available. So surely sign Carlos Sainz for next year. Now, the issue with that, though, is it doesn't solve the problem for this year with Red Bull and not winning that Constructors' Championship. If Max Verstappen, at the moment, he's 30-something points ahead, isn't he? So he's like a win and a half-ish ahead. Now, if Max wins the championship comfortably, let's say, but I think he's he's 80 points ahead. Sorry, what am I talking about? He's loads of points ahead. But if Max wins the championship by like a country mile, because of Sergio Perez, they don't win the constructors, that's going to be very embarrassing for Red Bull. So I was kind of thinking it was going to be Lawson before the test. Now I've no idea. Could it be Daniel Ricciardo? who knows? I think because Lawson has done so bad, that ironically, despite the title of this video, that could hurt Daniel Ricciardo. I mean, it really is. It really is like a long, like an Uno game that never wants to end. So Ricciardo, though, he has said, he's come out and said he's going to keep pushing. He reckons his best weekends often seem to follow on form when other drivers have made critical comments, a la Jacques Villeneuve. He's been outscored by his RB teammate so far, Tsunoda, and Ricciardo came under fire, as we know, from Jacques Villeneuve, questioning why he's still in Formula One. And he went on to have a very impressive P5 on the grid before scoring points on Sunday, ultimately finishing 8th. He again added to this tally in Austria, ending the race in P9. Speaking before a challenging weekend at Silverstone, he didn't score. He acknowledged that his recent points had been something that he needed. It's probably a thing I was certainly lacking for most of the season so far, he said, was to string a few decent results together. But yeah, he carried on saying, I don't know, it feels like when we have a media briefing and they're like, yeah, a few people are saying things about you, I tend to have a decent weekend. Maybe some of it's good. Now, regardless of firing back at his critics, Ricciardo, he's well aware that he needs to produce good results going forward. He said, I also know what's required and I'm finally getting a little bit of momentum. Probably what I envisioned I should have maybe had all season, I should have had maybe had all season so far. Confusing. It was a little bit tougher to get that going. So what he's saying is he kind of didn't meet his own expectations. But Ricciardo's future beyond 2024 is yet to be announced. Tsunoda's been announced. Perez has been announced. And so is Max Verstappen. Well, we know about Max Verstappen. So there is a seat remaining at RB following the announcement of Tsunoda. What's going to happen? I think Ricciardo will stay. I think at the moment Perez will go. I would like Perez to, I've always said it, I would like him to step up a gear and match Max Verstappen in Hungary, beat Max Verstappen in Hungary and go, look, come back like a phoenix. But let's see. Is that going to happen? I don't know. Do I want it to happen? Yes. It would really spice things up if he rises from the ashes of his bad results like a phoenix. I wouldn't bet the house on it. I wouldn't bet the farm on it. Anyway, if you like what you see, please give us a subscribe. That would be absolutely amazing. We will speak to you soon. Stay tuned for more F1 content, rally content. The touring car summer break is soon to be up as well. See you soon.